to not have to exert any time to set up that speed control with the Basque Legion, where you've just got to get the rain out on the field and you've got your Pelipper then, and then you also have that speed control on top of that. It also kind of sets up the Alcaladon as well, where it is able to just fire off those electro shots pretty freely. You do have to be careful around things like the Blood Moon Ursa Luna, but you do have that Assault Vest alleviation. So I think they're the things that Eden needs to really concentrate on.
As we are going to get our leads, game one, make some noise, everybody, between both of our finalists. Francesco leading with Incineroar, Archaladon versus Eden's Golden Go and the Dragonite.
The Incineroar coming in for Francesco is great. It lowers the attack on that Dragonite, so it's not going to be hitting as hard, of course. It does have access to the Fake Out, can break that multi-scale. Eden has to keep that in mind. Maybe wants to protect here. The Golden Go in a decent spot, though. It is going to resist the majority of attacks from that Archaladon, and it is in the position where it could go for a nasty plot. You've got to be wary about the Incineroar. Of course, it does have access to those attacks that can do super effective damage, so you don't really want to take any additional damage that you don't necessarily need to. But if the risk is worth it, then you can get those nasty plots up, put yourself in such a strong position.
It's all about whether the reward will be able to advance your board position. Golden Go saying, no, sorry, I want out. I'm going to bring in my buddy, that Blood Moon Ursa Luna. And Incineroar actually following suit there, quite interestingly, allowing a potential synergy setup of this Electro Shot, trying to target down the Golden Go and maybe guarantee a two-shot.
Yeah, and a really nice play there, but the Dragonite not falling for the Fake Out, going for that Tailwind, setting that speed control up very early on in here, like you say, Costa, is that Electro Shock.
Oh, where is it going to target? Is this going to be a very cool switching of the Blood Moon in anticipation to be able to be immune? Yes, it is! It is the ground type immune that comes into play, although, of course, we do know Dragonite right now, Tailwind has been set up. This Blood Moon, it wasn't that fast before. Guess what? It very much is now.
Yeah, it is now. It's putting on a lot of pressure onto the opposing side of the field with those Hyper Voices, with that Blood Moon. And now, before the terrestrialization on Francesco's Archaladon, it is pressuring with that Earth Power. So you've got to see Francesco maybe react here, try and match the Tailwind if you can with your own Pelipper, and you've already got that boost to Electro Shot. The big thing, though, for Eden, got in his pocket is that multi-scale still intact on that Dragonite. Got that Tailwind up for free, and the Blood Moon in a powerful position.
Oh, all right. First terrestrialization forced in this game one of the finals. It is the Bug Terror. You do not want to fall short of getting KO'd from an Earth Power combination there, and wanting to be able to resist that ground typing is so key.
Yeah, it is so key, because it does take away that weakness to the Earth Power. It gives you a bit of room, and you've got that Body Press to be super effective damage into that slot.
Oh, Scale Shot trying to catch out this Pelipper, but Pelipper saying no. I want to go on the defensive right now. Archaladon, buddy, please do all of the work for me. Hyper Voice actually not even going for the Earth Power, identifying from Eden's side that most likely the Bug Terror is going to come out. We've got +1 stamina in the Archaladon's favor. Dragon Pulse, even a +1, not dealing that much damage onto Urs.
Yeah, and one of the drawbacks about terrestrializing is that you do take away that resistance to those normal type attacks. Yes, you take away that weakness to the ground types, but again, those big powerful attacks are going to be the Hyper Voice, are going to be the Blood Moon. Now you're susceptible to just taking normal damage from those, so you have to be wary. You do have the Assault Vest, of course, but the stamina boosts are always going to be beneficial, especially when you do have that Body Press. Do you want to lock into it, to that Blood Moon Ursa Luna, though? Do you want to take the risk to try and pick up a knockout there? Because if you can remove that from the field, one of those big pieces is taken away from the field.
Oh, Hayes wanting to catch out and neutralize any sort of boost, both on the special offensive side and the defensive, which allows the Blood Moon to come out not quite enough to pick up the KO, and of course, in turn, does give a +1 defensive boost. And this Body Press, not enough to pick up the KO, even with the +1, remaining on 15 hit points, and most crucially, we have got a staggered Tailwind active on Francesco's side.
Yeah, we've got one Tailwind turn left on Eden's side of the field, but perfectly timed by Francesco. That Protect turn previously allows that little bit of a staggered Tailwind. Now you're going to be able to stall this one out on Eden's side, and then you're going to be in the driving seat. You just got to make sure that you don't lose any resource too early. We know that the Blood Moon has been used by that Ursa Luna. It has to lock into one of two things. Either that Hyper Voice, the Earth Power, could alternatively just go for the switch into something a little bit safer, allow Eden to reposition as the Tailwind is about to end.
Yeah, and at this point, we have got the fact that the Pelipper will feel a bit more inclined to be able to get that additional damage on. It's a focus sash. It's most likely going to be trained in order to outspeed this Ursaluna, but it's not even going to be utilized right now. Francesco maybe identifying, bringing that Incineroar in for the subsequent fake out turn, and maintaining potential of reactivating the rain could be quite crucial.
Yeah, another Intimidate coming in from that Incineroar, going to be quite pivotal on that Dragonite here. The Ursaluna doesn't want to take any additional damage, retreating out of there and just being saved for later. The big sponge itself coming in, Amoonguss is going to be able to soak up any attacks coming in that direction.
Yeah, scale shot. Ooh, going to be quite interesting right now because of the stamina interactions. Is it enough? Maybe with 5 hits, surely it has to be. But now we got a +3 on the Archaludon. 3rd hit from that Dragonite. Oh my lord, it might not even be able to pick up the KO from this range. With 5 hits, we've got that 4th. Can we get a number 5? And can it do enough? No! 4 hits. And the Archaludon is saying, right, this is time. I want to go ahead and pick up as much damage as I can, but targets that Amoonguss was looking for the KO on the Ursa.
Yeah, it was looking for. That's why the Dragon Pulse is there, not that body press, not one to take any risk. Amoonguss coming in and taking that so well. Now you've got the Incineroar, you've got the active fake out. It can break that multi-skill on the Dragonite, so Eden has to be wary of that. Amoonguss, though, is pressuring with that Spore into the Archaludon slot, so that's something that Francesco has to be aware of as well and not take any too many risks here. Yeah. Dragon Pulse will not pick up the knockout onto Amoonguss, and it is going to be susceptible to that. It has just got all those stamina boosts, so you kind of want to preserve it as best you can.
Yeah, and it's quite awkward for this Dragonite because it does not have access to extreme speed if that Archaludon is on its probably single left hit point. Amoonguss switches out, does get that regenerator proc with the ability, will have even more HP. Ursaluna may well just be brought in to be able to burn as that slot.
Yeah, really great protect here just to preserve that multi-scale, and the Dragon Pulse now into that Dragonite.
All right.
And a great protect from Eden.
Yeah, and of course this does allow the taunt to go into the Ursaluna, not even going on the offensive, and of course this is not gonna matter. This is an assault fest. Ursaluna, no such thing as a status type move or any sort of non-damaging one.
Now this is a great position for Eden, getting that Ursaluna in for free. Not only you've got access to that vacuum wave now, it's not going to be super effective into the Archaludon, but it's probably at the range where the vacuum wave is going to be enough to pick up the knockout onto it.
Yeah.
Solo health at the moment, and then it gives you the opportunity to set that tailwind up once again with your Dragonite. We talked about staggered tailwinds. This is a perfect position. You go for the vacuum wave, you got the tailwind. This has got to be something that Francesco needs to think out. Maybe you can utilize something like the knockoff here to get rid of an item that's key, or maybe parting shot out of here to reposition, activate that fake out once again, drop another all-important Intimidate onto the field.
And I'm even wondering if it's worth trying to switch out the Archaludon right now to be able to preserve it, because at this point it's got such little HP. Is it worth it? And the vacuum wave does pick up the KO. The Archaludon, the bridge is now down, has been brought out of this game 1, allowing the Incineroar to try to get a damage move off or any sort of repositioning, but the Dragonite going for the tailwind. Staggered upon staggered situations going on from both sides.
Yeah, the knockoff coming out. It is going to be enough to pick up the Ursaluna, but it's done its job. It got that vacuum move onto the Archaludon. The terrestrialization has been used up now on Francesco's side of the field, whereas Eden still has it active. Still got that Goldingo and the Amoonguss in the back. The Amoonguss has been utilized really well because that earlier on switch out, the regenerator activating, soaking up all that damage from the Dragon Pulse, all undone. Eden sitting in a very comfortable place. You still got the Pelipper in the back for Francesco, and one Pokemon still yet to be revealed.
Yes, and the very important part is the fact that Fake Out is no longer active for Francesco to be able to utilize right here. And actually, we see both final slots revealed, both the exact same Pokemon, although there's a bit of a shiny one over on Francesco's side. But most importantly, Tailwind is in Eden's favor. You're able to directly threaten a potential double up onto the Incineroar and maybe hope for a KO, as there's no direct source of recovery.
Yeah, and the terrestrialization still being active on Eden's side gives a huge advantage now that Archaludon's been removed, because it was one of those Pokemon that puts you off going for that water terrestrialization because of the Electroshock threat. Now that has been removed, kind of frees you up. It paves the way. You can go for that nasty plot and you can resist those Maker Rains. You're not going to take super effective damage from those Shadow Balls, and more importantly, you're not going to take super effective damage from that knockoff, which is so easy for that Incineroar just to fire out now. You've got the Tailwind behind you. The Tailwind on Francesco's side going to fail this turn, and we are seeing the paving the way of that with a Protect from the Dragonite.
Really lovely positioning, just wanting to be able to hold off from any sort of cheeky play of Francesco. Scouting out, and does actually seem like the Shadow Ball was trying to focus down on Eden's Golden Go. So far, no switch outs whatsoever. however, repositionings, maybe to allow Eden to focus a scale shot if the Pelipper was brought in.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I think the one thing that you need to keep in mind as well is this Dragonite has been intimidated twice, so you probably want to try and remove that from the field as soon as possible, but at the same time, you want to try and get the Amoonguss in a safe position, obviously. Yep. You don't want to take too much damage from something like the Incineroar. It would feel safer if the Rain was up on the field doing that to reset the Dragonite, save it for later on. But of course, you've got the threat. If you leave the Goldingo alone on either side, they've got the ability to set that nasty plot up, and you need to keep one another in check, not to let the other kind of run away with this game.
Yeah, it's still very, very close, and it's going to really come down to this turn, most likely, if not the following one. We're going to have to see what the outcome will be. Terra Water is now utilized from Eden. It is no longer susceptible to any sort of knockoff super effective moves or even the Shadow Ball Protect from the Goldingo Francesco side, knowing it is a prime target, but is there even a focus in it right now? Scale shot targeting down the Incineroar, still doing a bit of respectable damage, being at -2.
Critical hit.
Oh, critical hit, where it may even well prove to be quite decisive if there is a follow-up, but at this situation, we're going to really have to see where the Goldingo is targeting.
Yeah, and that's the big thing here. It is into the opposing Goldingo because it still has that Ghost weakness, a big play here, but it does leave that Incineroar, allowing it to go for that knockoff, and it will be huge because it knocks off that Life Orb. The big 30% boost that Eden had access to has now been removed.
Yeah, and in this scenario, I kind of feel like there may have been a missed opportunity for Eden to opt in for a nasty plot, want to be able to take advantage of that defensive play from the Goldingo.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's the opportunity missed. You can't really afford to go for it again because of that knockoff damage. You're probably in range from a Shadow Ball now, considering, even though it's not super effective, it is going to be boosted by the Life Orb that Francesco still has available to it. Now, the Incineroar as well, you can't forget about that. You know for a fact the scale shot from the damage before, even if you get the 5 hits, it's not going to be enough to take it down. Can you drop a Make It Rain? Maybe it puts it in range of that, but what are you prioritizing here? You're prioritizing the Incineroar or the Goldingo, but I think this is a big indicator, Costa.
Yeah, it very much is. We're most likely going to be seeing a double up into the Goldingo, so we are most likely at that range going to see a Shadow Ball KO unless there's any sort of weird speed interactions, but right now we're waiting. 5 hits down, 1 more left to go, at least from the Goldingo side. Shadow Ball focus, is it enough to pick up this Goldingo? It is! And there you have it, showing why it's so crucial to be able to identify when to utilize your terrestrialization.
Yeah, perfect play here, and just how important it is to get that tailwind in place, to match your opponent, stall theirs out, and get yours in a position of power, and that's exactly what Eden's done.
Yeah, and the Pelipper now being brought, it still has its Focus Sash maintained, and we know that there's quite a few, at least one offensive drop on the Dragonite's attack. It may not even guarantee a KO.
No, it might not guarantee a KO, and that's the big worry here. I think you've got to really get this right because Eden has got the advantage in numbers here. Okay. Can you utilize them? The Dragonite not hitting as hard as what you would like to. Is this the time where you switch it out? It's risky because there's Hurricane on the field, but we're not seeing that, just a haze.
Or maybe not even needing the Tailwind because this Goldingo has been trained to be fast enough. Yes, it is. It goes and wants to try to maximize the damage output onto this Pelipper to put it within range for this Dragonite to guarantee the KO in the subsequent turn, but the Tailwind has now been set up from Francesco's side.
Yeah, and now the speed control going backwards and forwards. The taunt coming out from the Incineroar into the Dragonite. That's going to prevent any future Tailwinds for the next few turns at least. But it does maybe push the boat where you want to switch that Dragonite out. We've been talking about it. Is this now the chance? But you've got the opportunity to take attacks from the Incineroar, from the Pelipper. You don't worry about getting knocked out with the Dragonite. You've just done all of those defense drops.
And I think Francesco's identified a win condition of a confusion potential with the Hurricane. No confusion. Knockoff not enough to pick up the KO, and the Goldingo allows it to go for the Make It Rain, picks up the KO onto the Pelipper. Incineroar is now on its own. I'm not sure if it has enough gas in the tank to be able to bring this back.
No, all the scale shots, those Intimidates have been undone by the haze, and now 2. We are going to see the 3rd. It will be enough for Eden to take game 1 in this finals here at the Stuttgart Regional Championships.
And what a way to be able to do it. There were so many back and forths between Francesco and Eden there, especially in the early game interactions. We had that that Archaludon pretty much set up to the point where it wants to click all of the body presses. It very well can be allowed to, but the bug terrestrialization was utilized early on. It did survive a couple of crucial turns. However, the fact that Eden was able to get a tailwind of their own initially set up, we saw the staggered tailwind set up on Francesco's side, and then a reset up of tailwind back onto Eden's side.
Yeah, it was tailwind central. It was very blustery up on the stage for both players. But I mean, I think the big problem for Francesco, what they need to really prioritize going into this next game, you look at that last one, the multi-scale on the Dragonite didn't get broken once throughout the game. It was left alone to just set up, support, disrupt, do all of the things that Eden wanted it to do for pretty much free, right? And Francesco, I think, can't allow that to happen. I think it didn't really pay off that terrestrialization with Archaludon because Eden didn't really play into it, knowing that the bug terror was there, thinking, well, if you go for it, yeah, that's great. Then I've got my Blood Moon to take advantage of. Once that Pokemon is removed, my Goldingo could come in. I can utilize terrestrialization from there, and then we saw how it played out. So I think there needs to be a bit of a change of plan from Francesco going into this one. Maybe prioritizing that Dragonite. You've got a good way if you can break the multi-scale, then you've got that Dragon Pulse with Archaludon to get rid of it.
I do feel like maybe there's a way that Francesco might be able to pave a path with the Bastion-Legion, immediate offensive threat on the field, but the thing that really deters that bring is not only the Dragonite, of course, being able to resist the water typing, but that Amoonguss. With the redirection, there's no way to be able to ignore it. We know Bastion-Legion is water terror rather than grass.
Yeah, and that would be a big play, I think, as well. That's one option to look at. The Amoonguss could be that disruptive force that you need. Start putting things to sleep, start redirecting, supporting some of your own Pokemon in a bit better light, and that might be enough to tie the set up, push us to a game 3.
But, of course, we are going to find that out very shortly as our trainers are getting ready. There's the crowd. Make some noise, everybody. Hello. Game 2 is up, and we are going to see the leads between both of our finalists. Archaludon and Incineroar, yes, yet again on Francesco's side versus the Dragonite and the Blood Moon Ursaluna.
Yeah, it's the same lead up again. We see that Intimidate drop onto the Dragonite, all important for learning that attack stat, weakening those scale shots. But you've got the same opportunity here where you've got that Tailwind set up for pretty much free. You do risk, if you stay in with the Dragonite, that Francesco could go for the fake out this turn to prevent that Dragonite going for it, because it was a bit cheeky to not protect that last turn. And this time, are you going to allow that to happen? Maybe you do protect this turn if you're Eden and allow your Blood Moon to try and get some decent damage on the field. You are pressuring with that Earth Power into the Archaludon. Is that what Francesco wants to go for? And there it is, bro.
Oh, multi-scale, now protected, of course, not subject to any sort of fake outs, but the Ursaluna instead is Dragon Pulse, at least wanting to A, get rid of the multi-scale, but B, deal respectable damage through it.
Yeah, and that's a really nice, safe play from Francesco. Not wanting to take any risks, just wants to mitigate the things that are in front of it. Now you've got the opportunity to get that Dragon Pulse onto the Dragonite. You have to be very careful, though, because are you trying to force the terrestrialization from Eden into that Fairy type? If it does go for that, it's not going to have any impact at all. And then you're going to see how that plays out for the rest of the game. But you can't ignore this Blood Moon Ursaluna. It is threatening the Incineroar. It is threatening the Archaludon as long as you don't see that terrestrialization.
Yeah, and Scale Shot now coming out at -1 of its attack due to the previous Intimidate. And at this situation, no terrestrializations actually being opted from Francesco's side means it will be susceptible to an Earth Power. Seemingly, Francesco thought he doesn't want to burn out that Terra option just yet. Dragon Pulse will target down that non-Terra Dragonite, breaks multi-scale, respectable damage, knock off into the Blood Moon Ursaluna, will get rid of that Assault Vest, but the Blood Moon will come out, will target down that Incineroar, and pick up the KO with the critical hit. I'm not even sure at that range if it was enough normally.
Yeah, that's a big, big knockout there and a big return for Eden. You know, the one thing you would say is the Earth Power coming there. Well, that's a bit risky because if that Pelipper comes in on that slot and you don't get any return, so that's why we see the Blood Moon there. Now the Pelipper, we talk about it, it does appear. We've got the Dragonite, though, in a situation where its multi-scale has been broken. There's no Tailwind on the field. Francesco prioritizing, setting this up a lot better. It is going to be threatened now going into this next turn by another Dragon Pulse. That will be enough to take it down. Are we going to see that terrestrialization come out from the Dragonite now, or are we not? We've got the Pelipper as well. It can set up Tailwind. It can go for just a Hurricane. It can pressure this Dragonite pretty hard with a Hurricane. It probably is in range of that right now. Pelipper is not the sort of Pokemon you want to scoff at. It can hit pretty hard when it needs to.
Exactly, as as the first terrestrialization of Game 2 is on the board. It is going to be the Bud-type Archaludon. We've seen this become so prominent in the meta right now. Shout-outs, of course, to Shohei Kimura being able to bring out LAIC. Tailwind is online for Eden's side. It will allow this Blood Moon to actually go ahead and outspeed, go for the Earth Power, hoping the Terra wasn't the choice right there for Francesco, playing into that so incredibly well. And at that range, if there is a body press, which there is not, it could have potentially picked up the KO, but wanting to prioritize, maybe within the range, to pick up the Dragonite.
Yeah, and I love this Electro shot. You've got the one-turn setup, and there's no risk here. If there is a terrestrialization, you still get the move off, and you get some return as well. You take down what was such a thorn in Francesco's side from that Game 1. The Tailwind has been set up, but yes, Tailwind's there. I'm going to match you this time. We're keeping pace to pace as we go forward in this match.
Yeah, and you can see the reprioritization from Francesco there. A clear adaptation from Game 1, understanding and identifying what a key role the Dragonite was playing in Game 1. Now, it's gone. There is no situation that it could get another Tailwind set up.
Yeah, and you can't really understate how much that Bug Terra type has just been paid off for Francesco. It was risky going for it. It didn't pay off in Game 1, so you think, maybe I'm not going to go for it again. But very brave in the conviction. The Earth Power going into it, and you see the value of being able to terrestrialize right there, getting it perfectly timed this time around.
Yeah, and that's sort of what you need to be able to buff away from the wind conditions that we saw Eden identified in the previous game. But Golden Go is now on the field. We know that it does outspeed for sure that Pelipper on the other side of the field. Most likely going to be the Archaludon. Is there a way for it to be able to dispatch immediate damage? Although we see the focus may well be in the Pelipper. Vacuum Wave priority with the Shadow Ball. Life Orb boosted, mind you, is enough. With a critical hit, not sure if it mattered or not, but it's enough to get rid of that slot.
Another important piece of Francesco's board does fall down, and now that is gone, we're going to see an Electro shot. This is +1. It's going to be into that Goldingo after the booster being +2.
Yes, exactly. And it is going into the Goldingo. Is it enough at this range? It is. Thanks to the Life Orb chip damage at that end of the interaction.
Trade for trade here. It is incredible. These players are pulling no stops. Now we're seeing Eden bringing in the Incineroar. It's going to have that active fake out, but this Archaludon is getting itself set up in a place where it is feeling very good. It's already got those stamina boosts, so it's going to be able to pressure with that body press onto both these targets. Do not want to take a body press at all.
No, and the fact that both Tailwinds were set up very close to each other really skews a bit of the speed tiering right now. A Golden Go and Archaludon will most likely be able to outspeed Incineroar and Ursaluna as long as there's no advantage in Tailwind turns.
Yeah, and the problem is here, you go for the fake out. Yes, you can start the Archaludon for at least one turn, but by doing that, you're giving it another stamina boost, almost powering it up even more with those body presses. So there is the conflict there. Do you have to go for it? You probably do, but by doing it and concentrating so much into that slot, you're ignoring the Goldingo, and there's the opportunity here, perfect time for a nasty plot, or even just a big make it rain.
Oh, here we go, fake out into the Archaludon, wants to make sure it cannot get any pesky body presses. Make it rain, will not pick up the KO on the Ursaluna, proving its value with that Assault Vest accompanied against a Life Orb. Golden Go, out of all things to call out Blood Moon, is this enough to pick up the KO on the Archaludon? It is not. It's able to stand tall and proud and survive.
That is incredible. Assault Vest versus Assault Vest, and you can see how valuable, why players rely so heavily on this item. It gives you the opportunity to survive when you need to. The big question, there is priority on Eden's side of the field still with that Vacuum Wave. Is it enough though to get the Archaludon? It has got its Assault Vest still, so that's the big worry here. You don't have a way to protect. You probably got to go for it, and then it might come down to the Goldingo and the Incineroar, but we'll see how this plays out. I feel like the Archaludon probably got enough in the tank to take at least one Vacuum Wave and then get rid of the Ursaluna, and then allow the Goldingo and then the Archaludon to clean up that Incineroar.
I'm getting stressed because Eden is not locking into a move, and this is going to be so close. Make a rain, no Vacuum Wave, gets out. Ursaluna does get KO'd there. The Incineroar is sure it's going to be able to open up and get rid of the Golden Go, but this Archaludon has been left free reign to be able to go for the Electro Shot rather than a body press into the Incineroar. Incineroar.
+3 into this Incineroar. We're one step closer to tying up the set, giving us our wish, and taking us to a game 3. It feels like we are. Francesco taking it in absolute style.
Oh, bellissimo, Francesco. Look at you go, forcing a game 3. And what a way of a turn of events between both of these trainers. You see, Francesco is just saying, calmate, calmate. We are going to get the ass catcher preview that we were looking for.
I'm going to take that advice from Francesco. We are feeling the hype behind the desk. You can hear the audience. They're going crazy. We've got a game 3, and this is going right down to the wire.
Oh, very well so, and what a tantalizing set between both of these trainers, really proving their worth and all of the fight that they've got in them to get that title.
Yeah, and it all comes back to it. We said it at the start of game 2, how Francesco needs to prioritize getting rid of that Dragonite, and that's exactly what they did. They got rid of it. They didn't allow it to position itself, perform those set of options, and all of those damage that it did from that game 1. Got rid of it very early on and made it difficult for Eden then to have that support for the rest of the game. Now, I think if you're Eden, you need to go back to that game 1 and say, okay, right, I'm not going to be so free with my Dragonite. I need to protect it. I need to keep it safe in this battle. Can you catch it, Francesco out with maybe one of those Dragon Pulses? You're committing to the terrestrialization on it, but maybe that might be enough to get you your Tailwind, maybe a really important scale shot onto the opposite side of the field, and that could be enough with how tight the margins are in this game.
Yeah, and I think what we did identify there, Lee, is the fact that game 1, we feel that Francesco did not as best utilize the most optimum terrestrialization, however, was able to do that at the appropriate time in game 2, and that could genuinely be the smallest of margins of what can make the difference, make you a finalist or make you a champion.
Yeah, and we talked about how brave Francesco was going for that terrestrialization in game 2. After what happened in game 1, it didn't go your way, and you think in game 2, I'm going to have to change this up to get a different result, but no, sticking true to the tried and tested convictions, and it paying off because the timing was perfect into that Earth Power, and it just allowed that Archaludon to clean the way.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the way! This is game 3, and the Basque Legion that Francesco promised me is on the field with the Pelipper versus the Golden Go and Incineroar.
Well, this Basque Legion is a great adjustment because it's in a prime position to pick up a knockout onto that Incineroar. It is weak to those big wave crashes, especially under the sun, and that Goldingo as well is not in a great place either. Obviously, you have to worry about the Basque Legion getting a Shadow Ball. You don't want to take that for free, but you do have Tailwind on your side of the field. You've got the Swift Swim. You can go after that Goldingo. Do you force terrestrialization from Eden? And you could also go for the terrestrialization yourself if you're Francesco. You're not going to be worried about the fake out. If you terrestrialize, of course, you do become susceptible to it, and that's something that maybe Eden could call out, but it is a risky thing to do, especially when we're in a game 3 of the finals.
This is where you put out all of the stops. If you're going to make the big gutsy plays, this is the moment you're going to have to do it. No fake out into any sort of terrestrialized Basque Legion that goes into the Pelipper, and the Wave Crash is going to be able to pick up the KO with an Intimidate drop regardless.
Yeah, into that Incineroar, and it's gone. It's done its job though. It's broken the sash on the Pelipper, and it has prevented it from moving this turn. No Tailwind, and followed up by a Shadow Ball. Light Ball boosted, going to be more than enough to get rid of the Basque Legion. So trading 1 for 1.
Yeah, very fair trade from either side, but at this situation, you did bring the Basque Legion. It is such a juggernaut of a damage source, and you've lost that right now. However, this opens up the play for that Archaludon to now be brought from the back.
Yeah, and it's in a position where it's got the rain up already. You don't need to maneuver things around. With your board position, you've got the Pelipper in prime position to set up that Tailwind and start the onslaught with that Pokemon. If it has been brought, of course, by Francesco, you would imagine it has. It's got such a good matchup into this, but I do like that neither player committed to that terrestrialization really good here, because it would put you in a detrimental position going forward in the match. If the Goldingo had terrestrialized there to potentially take an incoming Wave Crash, then now the Archaludon, which would be coming in, would be hitting for super effective damage, but now you've still got access to that terrestrialization, which could be the make or break of this game.
Okay, so Eden identifying right. Let me make sure I bring in my Tailwind supporter as well and not allow this Pelipper to be able to get any sort of free setup going if we feel the Shadow Ball Life Orb is not enough to pick up the KO.
Yeah, and what are we going to see here? Because either one of these Goldingos can knock out the other one. Of course, there is terrestrialization here. You are going to take a lot of damage, but you commit to that terrestrialization on that Pokemon. Is it worth it? Or do you go for something risky here? Is this the time to go for that nasty plot, expecting your opponent to maybe be a little bit more cautious, not wanting to overcompensate in this situation and maybe lose a Pokemon? If you are brave enough in this situation, this is where you go for it. The Dragonite in a prime position to get some good damage onto that Pelipper, of course. The one thing that you can say, that multi-scale is still intact and that protection is there, and the Pelipper going to be out of there.
Yeah, wanting to make sure it does not fall short of no longer having Tailwind support, as well as that Reynard Chaladon taking its place. We have the first terrestrialization of this Game 3 right now. It is going to be the Goldengo. Question is, which Goldengo is it? It is the Terra Water, and from the looks of things, it could still be very much both. But it is most crucially going to be Francesco, and I feel like we're going to see a very similar play over on Eden's side.
It makes sense that both of them are going for it to take away that weakness to the Shadow Ball, so both of them can kind of target into each other and get a little bit of an advantage more than one attack off. If you don't terrestrialize, take the Shadow Ball, you're down and out.
Too risky. It is so risky, and that's why the trainers didn't do it. Make It Rain will deal respectable damage regardless of the typing change there. It did move first from Francesco's side, whilst we had the nasty plot set up from Eden's, not even going on the offensive.
No, and we're not going to see a Tailwind, but it is going to be that Scale Shot.
Oh, Scale Shot, of course. Now targeting the Archaladon may well, even though not do as much damage, put it within range to get KO'd if the Shadow Ball does follow suit in the subsequent turn.
Yeah, that's huge. That nasty plot definitely starts to pick up knockouts on whatever is on the opposing side of the field. The Pelipper sash has been broke. That can't take a Shadow Ball. The Goldingo will not be able to take a Shadow Ball. And this Archaladon, even with that Assault Vest, after the chip from the Scale Shot, probably likely going down to a Shadow Ball.
This is huge as well, because the Goldengo on Francesco's side is at -1 special attack. We've seen, even though it did outspeed, it's not going to be able to pick up a KO except of any sort of weird RNG situations of a critical hit into the Goldengo on Eden's side. However, the Dragonite may well be in a position to get Tailwind.
Yeah, and because of that Scale Shot, you've seen the speed boost there. Now it's going to outspeed the Archaladon. Now it's going to be able to get the Tailwind, putting that Goldingo on Eden's side in such a valuable place to be able to just pick things off.
Tailwind support is key, folks. And guess what? The Goldengo is allowed to go for the Shadow Ball faster than every other Pokemon on the field.
No!
It beats the KO! The Archaladon is down for the count!
And the Goldingo on Francesco's side of the field, you've got to remember, has used the Make It Rain. It's -1, trying to make up for it, trying to lose ground. It's getting that nasty plot, putting it back up to +1.
It's still trying. Francesco is not completely out of the count. Pelipper is put on the field, but this is looking quite dire because the Tailwind's been set up, because this Goldengo on Eden's side is still at +1 of special attack.
Yeah, and now you think, right, the Tailwind isn't set up on Francesco's side, so you are at a deficit here. Can the Pelipper take a Scale Shot? That's the big question, because if you go into it with a Scale Shot, if you pick up the knockout, you deny that Tailwind. You could go into it convincingly with a Shadow Ball to pick up the knockout there. We've seen the damage, not Life Orb, not boosted. It's enough from this range, boosted to pick up that knockout. And then you can just concentrate on whatever target is left. Everything to do for Francesco. Got to pick the target right, got to pick the option right here, because Eden in the driving seat.
Well, here we go. This is going to be a nail-biter, folks. Protect from the Pelipper. Scale Shot does try to target it down. However, the Goldengo has not moved just yet. It will most likely go for the Shadow Ball into the Goldengo. Is it enough to pick up the KO from the range? It is! It's more than enough! And all of a sudden, Eden is looking so prime and ready for that championship title.
Not taking any risks, doing what he needs to do, and collapsing that KO to get rid of the big threat on Francesco's side of the field. The poor Pelipper, all it's alone, and
there we go! Eden Bachelor, your Stuttgart regional champion!
Electric, phenomenal, incredible.
Absolutely.
Just amazing show from Eden Bachelor, our Stuttgart regional champion. Just incredible from start to finish, and just didn't give Francesco a look in that game too.